This agency is too inexperienced. This agency is way too corporate. But this branding agency is just right. After nearly a year of stumbling through the branding agency dating world, we finally found a group to help translate our vision of creating luxury resort-style exteriors into a brand that just exudes that exact goal. I'm Kellen with Land Water Light, where we help luxury homeowners achieve resort-style living. In this video, I will be speaking with Chris and Cherry of Citizen Best, the branding agency that was instrumental in help bringing Land Water Light to life. So let's get started. All right, well, I'm so excited. Chris and Cherry, thanks so much for meeting me. Well, why don't y'all give a brief introduction, your role in the company, and who y'all are and how we kind of got engaged with this whole process. Chris?
Great. Yeah, I can start off. No problem. So Kel and I met through a mutual friend, Chris Kurtzky, and through a business organization called EO. And he was working on your branding. You know, Kellen was working on your branding, and Chris said, hey, I have a guy, and I happen to be named Chris as well. So we kind of started a conversation from there. Cherry and I founded Citizen Best, a brand design agency now back in 2015, and we've been going strong ever since. So I handle the brand strategy side, account planning, account service, and also manage the development. But really the core of what we do is with Cherry and the creative direction. So I'll let Cherry take it from there.
Hi, I'm Cherry. So as Chris mentioned, I am the creative director of Citizen Best. So I handle all of the creative process. I work with our internal team, external team, working with clients to make sure that anytime we have the strategy, we bring it through the creative vision and bring it to life, whether it's print or digital. So we handle all of that.
Awesome. Well, again, this was, it was a learning experience for me. I talk about this in a little bit in different parts of this video, but I learned a lot through the process and working with like a professional team that knows what they're doing. So what about Citizen Best's philosophy and approach, and what about that creates such strong branding, and how does that kind of vision and how y'all operate really help create successful brands in the long term?
I always like to let people know that we both come from a creative background. I was a designer myself for many years, and until I got to the point where I took my career as a designer as far as I could, and then met Cherry while we're working in LA together. And we are a creative-driven agency, and we recognize the importance of building the design and the copywriting, the voice and tone on strategy, but we love the final product of the identity work that we do and the copywriting work that we do and all the creative execution, and that really does show up in our work. So we, Citizen Best is always striving to do the best possible work while being very humble and approachable and collaborative, just by being good people.
And what I'm going to add is more on the process side, right? Like, so you're asking about our philosophy and our approach and what actually creates strong brand. For us, the few key things that are top of mind for us is, one, we listen attentively. So we listen attentively to our clients, and we're keeping our client as the customer and their end customers in mind throughout the experience whenever we create something, whether it's messaging or visual, and thinking about benchmark and the strategy from holistic approach. We always keep customer top of mind. Secondly, messaging and visual clarity. There's a lot of times that there's a lot of design component or maybe visual clutter that happens in a lot of brands. So we kind of take a look at your brand, what you have, what can be edited down, and what can be renew or create from scratch, starting over. And same with messaging as well. So in order to bring clarity to all of the key components, that goes back to your brand.
So in the Land Water Light brand, what were the particular challenges kind of on the initial approach? We had a bunch of early conversations. I very distinctly remember Chris basically going, no, this is what we need to do, which I can appreciate. Being in the creative profession myself, I say that I'm often the heavy when it comes to clients of like, you pay me to tell you what is, really what is best practice and how to create that. So what were kind of the particulars of the Land Water Light brand that were, I guess, engaging or challenging, or things that kind of got your engagement kind of excited and interesting to kind of work with us?
Yeah, one of the things that was actually refreshing was what we were starting with was actually really good. I mean, I was impressed by the website development. It was visually driven. It wasn't ever overly heavy in copy, but there was clear gaps in how the information was organized, and also just in simplicity of message. You had already gone through some iterations of rebranding, and so to take this on again would be difficult. And so we were always listening for those key moments where we can make the story simpler, and then it becomes that much clearer and easier to tell later when we get into implementation. And so that upfront part, as you're working with both creative professionals, is that we know how to shift the initial strategic direction, so it becomes an easier story to tell later, because everything ultimately has to be very direct and brief. And so taking that brand and just making the slight shift in the name from where you were to Land Water Light becomes an easier story to tell, and people will grasp it quickly later. And one of the challenges was that we loved that you were more meta and almost kind of like, oh, that's an interesting name for this category. Just being in the landscape design and implementation and all the construction work that you do, you were taking a very conceptual and almost like holistic approach toward it. Like we do complete transformations, almost like complete renovations of somebody's outdoor living space. And so you're just going further in that direction, but still making it easily understood, was kind of that initial strategy recommendation of kind of using these Land, Water, Light and categorizing your services in each one of those areas. And that makes it a clear message later once we get into the new branding.
Awesome. Good answer. So Cherry, what on your side? I know we kind of started engaging on more on the kind of the graphics and the feel, and I think I warned you, like working with other designers is probably not the easiest process ever. So how was that engagement? What was your philosophy and approach kind of coming into that? I know we talked about related projects and companies and kind of that trying to get the right feel. We're big on experience, and this brand is big on kind of that experience and that luxury feel, concierge feel. So how did you kind of come into the project, and what kind of were your original thoughts on it?
So having a very clear strategy that we worked up, we put a lot of work up front, that really helped inform the creative process. So my process is we take a look at what you have, where you are, where you want to be, right? And from an aesthetic standpoint, luckily you guys have a lot of beautiful imagery of your portfolio to begin with. It would have been really difficult if you don't have anything for us to pull it all together. But you do have beautiful images of your work. Now it's just a matter of understanding different aspects of the story that you want to tell, and fill in the gap, right? So we highlight your project photography. We're creating photo shoots to kind of really bring your company culture more forward, and then filling in some of the gaps around the services story with additional photo shoots to kind of fill in that void. And in addition to that, aside from photo being the main component, creating graphic system that would serve as a good backdrop and a foundation for the brand from color, graphic standpoint, pattern. It served as a good framework to elevate all of your projects photo, right? And that's one of the key thing is those graphic systems should not compete, but should help and elevate. Yeah.
And that was something, and we'll cover this in another video, kind of the photography specific. But that was something when we, even talking with my own team, noticing how it really, the photo style had to tie in with the graphics and vice versa, and make sure that it all looked cohesive, right, when it all went together. One of the things that I hadn't participated in, even despite our previous kind of branding engagements, was the brand pillars. Why is that so critical to kind of that early framework of creating a strong brand? The 4 that we came up with was immersive, creative, exclusive, and attentive, right? And that's different than our vision or our core values. So why are those brand pillars so key, and how do you use them through the planning process and that brand development process over time?
And so as we move through the brand strategy phase and are distilling down what to say, we get to where we need to just get these to simple, straightforward descriptions of the brand that we want to create. And so for each brand that we work on, it's always unique, but it's always based on who you are. And so much of what we're going to create, it can't just be in copywriting, what your different audience is going to read. It has to also be in the visual narrative. And so having these brand pillars that describe the brand that's going to be created guides the design process. So it's our critical step between completing the brand strategy step and moving into brand creative. And so it's really internally where we work together quite a bit to come up with what those brand pillars will be.
Sure. And it was a great exercise. I think that was one of the more defining ones from it helped me get sharp, right, on really what we're standing for, really what this brand is going to be moving forward and how it's going to endure. And it was challenging to kind of go through all these iterations, and I almost remember it was like trying to hone in my vision or my elevator pitch. What is it exactly do we do? And then this was, how do we want the experience to be, which is another kind of layer to this, which was really kind of it was a big learning curve, but it was one of those ones that I afterwards going, okay, this is really what is going to get us to that next point and create a big brand and something that lasts a long time, which is the goal. The way, as we scale and get bigger and just do more projects and spread out from kind of our geographic area.
Yeah.
Cherry, how do you use those in like the creative side, when you start to bring those into the process?
Those attributes are so crucial in the creative process, because when I look at that, it sort of informed me, not only from, I like to think of them as the DNA of your brand, right? Like representing from whether it's internal to your internal team and then also external communications. So each of those attributes come with they have vibes, right? It comes with the right vibe, and we always trying to come up with attributes that not only will inform the messaging vibe, voice and tone, but also the visual side as well, right? So it's a good starting point and really help us to kind of figure out what is the right level of energy. Should it be sophisticated? How sophisticated? Luxe can mean so many things. Energetic can mean so many things. Like when we're talking about like immersive, creative, exclusive, attentive, how does that translate into visual? So for each one of those, we write description that everything ladders back up to your overarching brand philosophy from a company standpoint, like why you exist. And then from there on, we took those attributes and create narrative that goes with the mood board, right? The visual directions when we're talking about what land, water, light should represent, what kind of impressions you want customer to take away when they first come to your website, interact with your brand. So those really come into play in informing the voice and tone, and highlighting the right aspect of what makes you unique.
Sure, that's awesome. Well, like I said, we're gonna have another video. You can follow this card right here that will take us kind of into that video, but about the photography and how that really plays a big part. I mean, obviously, as a visually oriented design build company, photography is everything. Our portfolio is everything, but how to make it all tie together and kind of take that quality from our built projects all the way through, and how that works. But Chris, Cherry, thank you so much for meeting with me. We're finally here. It's this rebrand week, so I'm extremely excited to share all this stuff with our current and existing clients and vendors and partners, and anyone new who's going to kind of be following us on this new adventure. So thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you so much for collaborating. It's been a fun experience pulling it all together for you guys.
I fully agree. Well, I'm sure we'll talk again.
All right.
Thanks.
Great. Bye.